Okay, so Mark here from Rocket Load. This evening, I am joined by the one and only Mr. Rob Caggiano. Rob is a guitarist for Danish rockers Volbeat, and the guys are currently whizzing their way through Europe at the moment on their Servant of the Road World Tour. With a special mention, the guys arrive in Ireland December 12th with Napalm Death and Skindred in tow. So make sure you check out TICKETMASTER.IE and, of course, Volbeat.dk for availability of tickets. Rob, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing really good.
Where are you today?
We're in Zurich, Switzerland.
Okay.
About play tonight.
Yeah.
Got a couple of days off here.
Very good. And do you get the opportunity then to decompress?
Yeah, I mean, so far on this tour, there's been quite a few days where, we can kind of walk around and absorb the city and, wherever we are. I love to do that. So
yeah,
it's really good. Actually, yesterday was my birthday, so.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank
21
you.
again?
Yeah, I wish I was 21 again.
Are you allowed to say the age at this stage?
I'm allowed to say it. I'd probably rather not.
Yeah. And did you celebrate at all? Did you guys go out for dinner?
Yeah, I mean, Zurich is a pretty mellow city. I've always thought that. It's a beautiful city, but it's definitely mellow. I saw some friends, had a nice dinner, and yeah, that was it. It was pretty low key, to be honest.
Yeah. Good. At least you'll be fresh for tonight's show.
Yeah.
So listen, tell me, you guys are constantly on the road. You talk about the Servant of the Road tour, but you guys are constantly touring. So how many sort of shows would you guys cover in a year?
Well, it's interesting because the tour we're on right now is actually a really long tour. It's probably the longest tour I've been on in quite a few years, actually.
Yeah.
This is like spanning 3 months, basically.
Yeah.
Which I guess in the scope of things, it's really not that long. I don't really mind it, but it is definitely longer than what we usually do. We usually do about 4 weeks or 5 weeks, and then we head home for a bit, and then we go back out again. So this is definitely a pretty good stretch, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that obviously the whole world was, sidelined and shut down and whatever, and so I guess we're kind of making up for all of that stuff still right now.
Yeah, make hay while the sun shines type of thing.
Yeah.
And how are you finding the crowds now again after the pandemic? Are you finding the people are responsive and the crowds coming back?
Yeah, I mean, for us, the crowds have been, we're really lucky. The crowds have been awesome every night, and the shows have been really good.
Yeah.
And, even some markets where, like, for example, like last time we played Budapest was obviously before the pandemic, and we just played it the other night. It feels like it definitely grew, like the excitement and the crowd and the venue and the whole thing. It feels really good. So yeah, I mean, overall, every show on this tour so far has been phenomenal. So
great.
And excited.
Out of curiosity, then, do you notice a difference in the crowds when you're coming back to these cities? Because obviously you do tend to go back to the same cities regularly enough. So you're finding the fan base growing?
It feels like it. Yeah. Definitely feels like it. Yes.
Yeah, it feels worthwhile, obviously, doing the graft.
Yeah, it right now is such a weird time to be out on the road, obviously, with everything that's going on in the world, especially in Europe.
Yeah.
With war and all this crazy stuff going on. The economy is upside down. People are really struggling. It's just we feel really blessed and thankful and humbled that we're able to do this, and people are showing up, and it's just a really great thing. And it's just like, for us, like, music is supposed to bring people together. There's so much shit out there in the world that's tearing us apart.
Yeah.
Music is one of the very few things that's bringing people together, and that's for us, like, where the satisfaction is, like, just standing up on stage and seeing all the happy faces out there. It's incredible for us, really.
Yeah, I'm sure. And tell me a little bit about yourself, Rob. As a guitarist, obviously, I know you had a background with Anthrax, and then obviously joined the boys around 2013 with Volbeat. So you've had a good career working at a very high level with a couple of bands. When you were learning and sort of growing as a guitarist at an early age, who was your sort of influence and inspiration that sort of drove you to be a better musician?
Well, I'd say my main musical influence from when I was a little kid was Eddie Van Halen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the two records that I my first two records as a kid were AC/DC Back in Black and Van Halen 1.
Yeah.
both of those albums really kind of put me on this path, so to speak. And you know, Eddie still to this day is like my biggest inspiration on the guitar. I mean, he's, in my opinion, the greatest rock and roll guitar player ever. So yeah, so still to this day. But I have a lot of different influences, you know, and I listen to a lot of different styles of music too. So
Yeah.
you know, I'm kind of like a music junkie.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
constantly looking for new sounds and new stuff to listen to, stuff to get inspired by, and different genres, you know, whatever it is, you know. So I'm always looking for stuff, you know.
And was that part of the appeal then with Volbeat? I know obviously you were working with the guys as a producer when you first initially met them, but when you joined the band, was it part of the appeal with the sort of variety of styles that they tend to incorporate in the music?
Oh yeah, I definitely think that that's a big part of it. You know, there's no formula with this band. There's no, basically anything goes, you know.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is we're all really influenced, even though those guys grew up in Denmark and I grew up in the States. You know, we're all basically influenced by the same stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so it all comes out. And at the end of the day, we're all playing music, and it's, you know, rock and roll is only 12 notes. That's all we have to choose from. So we're all playing the same notes. Doesn't matter where we grew up or where we live.
Yeah.
So,
and so is there, I was going to say, like, is there a formula to your writing process, or is it, how do you guys tend to, because the album is so varied, the new album, for example, like there's, even within one song, it can take so many different directions.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, like I said, there's no real formula with the writing and the way we, you know, create songs and stuff like that. It's just kind of whatever is happening around us influences the way the music sounds, I guess. And that's a pretty normal thing. Also where our heads are at the time.
Yeah.
You know, and what we're listening to, what books we're reading, you know, everything. It all comes out in the music, you know, that we play and that we make. So,
and out of curiosity, with your producing background, etc., do you have that sort of head switched on when you're writing songs as well, thinking about the final product and what to bring from a sort of musical to keep the listener intrigued?
Yeah, I'm so used to thinking about the big picture, so to speak, when I'm working on music. It's hard not to at this point. You know, if I'm working on a guitar riff or chord progression or whatever it may be, I'm thinking about what the kick drum is doing. I'm thinking about what the bass is going to be doing. And I'm constantly, you know, just kind of taking a step back and just looking at it as a whole, like what's the end result going to be, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's really important too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I suppose it's great having that maybe bigger, wider picture, because it'll obviously influence the album in a broader sense anyway. So tell me, out of curiosity, what sort of gear are you using yourself, Rob?
Are you talking about guitar gear or
guitar
recording
gear? Yeah, guitar gear.
Okay, well, out here on the road, I have a pretty crazy rig. I wish my guitar tech was here to elaborate a little bit more, but basically it was built by this guy named Skindred. He's a German Danish guy, and he builds these insane rocket ship looking guitar rigs. So basically the long and short of it is I've always had a dream of kind of recreating what I do in the studio live.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're doing out here. It's pretty elaborate, but it's at the same time, it's also simple. Like the concept is simple. So basically, I have cabinets behind me on stage. Everybody's on in-ears.
Yeah.
The stages are really, like, the stages we're playing are really big. So we have to be on in-ears, which is something I'm still kind of getting used to, because for so many years I never used the in-ears. But I learned my lesson when we were out with Metallica. I went down on that ramp and I heard the fucking snare drum like 8 times bouncing off.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
You know, just because when you're that far away from the PA and it's crazy. So I had to go on in-ears. And that kind of influenced the way my rig is set up as well. So basically I have cabinets behind me on stage. I'm running 2 Fryette Sig X heads, which I've been using for years. I love those heads. I have a cabinet behind the stage that's mic'd up, and that's what actually feeds front of house.
Yeah.
Feeds my equals, feeds the wedges. But I have two mics. I have a 57 and a 421 on one speaker, and that's going into a Neve 1073 style mic pre that was built by this guy Skindred. It's basically the same circuit as a Neve 1073, just built like a tank, you know,
Yeah.
for the road. And for a solo, there's a switcher that switches from those mics to a single 57 on a different speaker. That also goes to a 1073, but that also feeds an 1176 style FET compressor, which I love. That's what I do in the studio for solos. And it's the same thing I would do for a vocal as well, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the basic gist of it. And then, you know, there's some pedals here and there that get turned on and off, depending on what I'm doing. And for solos, I have a custom Daredevil's pedal. There is no name for it. It's just like a custom pedal that we had them build for us, and it screams. I also use a Spaceman, a Felion for some songs. It's a great pedal as well. And a couple of other things like delay pedals. There's a reverb pedal for some of the clean stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have obviously there's some acoustic bits that I do throughout the set.
Yeah.
There's a whole switching thing for that. And yeah.
And out of curiosity, for example, when you step away from the tour setup and you go back home, for example, if you're picking up a guitar and playing something, like what are you playing through? What sort of tone do you try and get away from what you do with Volbeat?
If I'm home, I'm literally playing through a fucking battery powered little Black Star amp or something, because they sound really good and they're super easy and I can take it anywhere.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's what I'm playing when I'm home. But to be totally honest, I don't really play much when I'm home.
Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to take a break from the instrument. It doesn't mean I'm not making music. I'm definitely always recording and producing, and you know, I might not be playing guitar, but I'll be thinking about drum parts or bass lines or what. I'm doing something.
Yeah.
But I like to take a break from the guitar so I don't get burned out on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was going to say it must be hard, obviously, after 3 months on the road, for example, as you're saying, playing every night and going back home, then trying to feel enthused about it again. You must sort of need that time away.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, I think any musician, or I mean, it definitely happens to a lot of guitar players, but myself included, you know, if I don't take a break from the instrument, I kind of get into, I wouldn't say a rut, but I end up playing a lot of the same type of stuff over and over again. And I don't like to do that. I like to always like try different stuff. You know, I'm not really a theory based player at all.
Yeah.
You know, I never think about stuff like that. I mean, I could play it all. I just have no idea what it's called.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's that kind of a thing. I could figure it out if you give me some time, but for me, it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? In the context of rock and roll and what I'm doing and what we're doing.
Yeah.
If it was jazz fusion, you know, whatever, that's a whole different thing, and you have to approach it differently and think about things a little bit differently. Well, a lot differently.
Yeah.
You know, but so yeah, I mean, for me, when I'm home, it's all about just kind of keeping the fingers limber. I have these Chinese balls that you know, the exercise balls.
Yeah.
It's a great warm up. So I do that. But yeah, I take just enough time away from the guitar. You know, I do it until I miss it, and then I go back and start playing it. And I usually find my fingers falling into different places, you know, and it keeps it inspiring.
Yeah. And out of curiosity, what or who you're listening to at the moment then?
Ooh, it's a good question. Let me look at my phone. I actually very recently, I got heavily into, and I was never into this genre really. I was never into death metal, but I got heavily into Morbid Angel.
Okay.
And I don't know why I've been sleeping on them, but yeah, I'm really like obsessed with those first 4 records. I think they're incredible. So I've been listening to a lot of that stuff. Let's see. There's a lot of good metal out there actually right now.
Yeah.
I just saw The Cure recently, so I've been listening to a lot of The Cure. I love that. I'll go through periods where I just get obsessed with The Cure and I'll just listen to them constantly. And then I'll stop for a bit. Skinny Puppy, I'm listening to a lot of Skinny Puppy. I love those guys too.
Yeah.
The new Taylor Swift record I think is really good as well.
When you need change.
I know I'm not giving you any guitar, like really guitar heavy, but let's see. Yeah, I mean,
So can we imagine? Can we see any Taylor Swift coming into the next album? Maybe.
I don't know. You know what?
Never say never.
Jack Antonoff, who co-wrote that whole record, he's one of my favorite songwriters. I think he's brilliant. His production's brilliant. His songs are brilliant. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a cool record. The new Dark Throne's really good.
Yeah.
Black metal. There's a band called Frozen Soul I've been listening to. They got some really cool riffs. Yeah. That's basically it for right now.
And do you think anything you're listening to, would that spark an inspiration, or would that maybe start you on a path of a bit of songwriting?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I'm like what I just told you is that's what I'm listening to right now.
Yeah,
it's going to change in the next 2 days, and I'm constantly changing it up. So yeah, it all affects me. I take inspiration from all of it. So yeah.
And do you guys tend to write constantly, for example, when you're on the road as well, or do you prefer to sort of set time aside to sit down and try and write new music?
I'd say a little bit of both, really, to be honest. For me, I have to like put myself in that headset, the headspace, and once I'm there, then it's easy to to get ideas and start working on stuff. But right now on this tour has been pretty full on, so like none of us are really thinking about like anything other than doing what we're doing out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure it must be hard, as you say, with that length of tour, just to keep the energy level up and motivation, because it's such a graft as well, isn't it? It's not easy doing the job that you're doing. It's all about those sort of 2 hours on stage, I suppose, and the rest of it is a bit of a chore.
I'd like to think we make it look easy, but yeah, it really is not easy.
Yeah. It's a lifestyle not for everybody, for sure.
100%. Yeah, this has to be, you have to be a certain type of person to do this. I mean, it's in my blood. It's what I do.
Yeah.
And I think all of us are in the same boat. You know what I mean?
And how do you guys, how are you feeling about each other at this stage after 3 months on a tour bus? So you're still all best mates?
Well, it hasn't been 3 months yet. We just started about 3 weeks ago. So.
Oh, yeah. It's a while to go yet.
We all get along great. We're all friends and brothers, and there's no weirdness like that at all.
Good. Glad to hear it. Well, look, I won't keep any longer because I'm sure you're a busy man. So I want to thank you for your time again. Great talking to you.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
And just a reminder for everybody again, the guys arrive in the UK and Ireland early December, and make sure you pay attention to that date in Ireland, December 12th, with Skindred and Napalm Death. Rob, thank you for your time.
Thank you, man. Pleasure talking to you.
Take care. Talk to you later.